The goal of Tell Me About Yourself is not to explain your entire career without missing anything, guys. This is exactly what a lot of smart, experienced people try to do. And I've been seeing more and more of it as I've had more and more clients actually get job interviews lately. Very exciting thing to have happen. But since it seems like internet interview activity is starting to pick up, we've got to make sure that y'all are prepared for it. So, the deal with the question, tell me about yourself, is that clarity beats completeness. Clarity beats completeness. So we also have to understand what this question really is. Now, a lot of people, there's a lot of different ways this question gets asked. It gets asked as tell me about yourself. It gets asked as walk me through your resume. It gets asked as um, a few different things. But what the question really is not an autobiography. So many people try to make it an autobiography, or they try to start from when they were a kid and they first got interested, or when they graduated from college, whenever they're 30 years into their career. It is actually a positioning question. And what we're trying to do is make sure that whoever's interviewing you understands who you are professionally, what you're known for, and why you fit the role that they have in front of them. It's not just to say, I went to any state university, I got my degree in biology, I did this for the next 20 years, and now I want a job at your company. If you're into interviews, leadership, burnout, career growth, any of that stuff, I'd love for you to hit subscribe. My name is Diana. I am an OBS career growth strategist, and I'm the host of the podcast Work Should Feel Good. So let's talk about what bad looks like for a tell me about yourself. And I have some notes here to help me with this live so that I don't forget what I was trying to say. There's a lot of different ways to answer this question badly, but one of the most typical things that we will hear is something that starts like, sure. So I started my career about 15 years ago after I graduated from the University of Missouri with a degree in communications. Although originally I was going to major in psychology, but my sophomore year, I decided to major in communications instead. My first role was a customer service associate at Acme Corporation. I did that for a couple of years and I liked it pretty well. I got promoted to senior customer service. And then after a while, I decided I didn't like Acme. I decided to move on. And so I got a team lead position at XYZ Corporation, on and on and on and on. It's basically just a list of where you worked. And the interviewer is exhausted 30 seconds into that, if not sooner. It's based around chronology instead of relevance, and there's too much information and not enough context for who you are as a professional. And the worst part is you don't know who this person is. So this is how a smart person accidentally turns their interview from the very first question, which is usually when this is asked, into a freaking hostage situation. And we definitely don't want that to happen. So how do you fix it? Or why do the people struggle? Let's do that first. People struggle, especially when they have complicated backgrounds. A lot of my clients that I work with in career coaching, whether it's people trying to be upwardly mobile in their current employer or whether they're going after a new position in a job search, they end up over contextualizing everything. They want to thoroughly explain every single move that they're making. And it's almost like they're trying to justify their existence. They're trying to justify 10, 20, 30 years of contributions as qualifications for the thing that they already decided you were good enough to bring you in and hold a job interview for you on. They also get really afraid of leaving things out. So there's a thing that I always say about resumes, and it kind of applies to other things. Like a resume it's a brochure. It's not a biography. And a freaking job interview is more like a movie trailer than it is the whole movie. So when you get afraid of leaving things out and you're trying to be comprehensive instead of tell kind of the story of a narrative at a high level, that's when you get into trouble and you end up boring people. And so it's one thing to be kind of complete. It's to kind of say, this is where I started. This is how some things have evolved. this is how I'm going to add value. It's one thing to do that, and another thing to recount every single role and title that you held in exactly how many years. So, the biggest mistakes people make with tell me about yourself are number one, they lean too far into, I have this many years of experience. I've been in the workforce this long. This freaking light is driving me crazy. I am I got a lot of shine on my glasses tonight. You're just going to have to deal with it. But they try to lean on the job title and the number of years of experience. Well, I've been a project manager for 15 years. Without more information about what makes you special, that's just random. They already saw that on your resume. They don't need to know that. They go into too much detail that isn't relevant and they lose people, and there's no direction to the story. So the relevance of your past experience and the why behind your past experience and a tiny little teaser of what you have achieved with that experience is much more important than recounting the chronology. Another thing people do with this is they bring their weird representative to the interview. So I like to say you don't have to have a personality transplant before you can perform well in a job interview. Earlier this week, I was interviewing someone, or not interviewing, I was kind of doing interview coaching with someone. And I asked him a question that's very relevant to their particular role. And I asked him for a clarification in there. And part of it is because they work in a slightly different domain than the ones that I have a ton of experience in. And I was genuinely curious. If I was actually the hiring manager, I would have asked for explanation on this. And the person looks at me and says, "Hey, I'm just going to talk to you for a second, Diana," meaning they weren't going to be in mock interview mode anymore, and proceeds to explain beautifully exactly what I needed to know, more naturally, more succinctly, and in a more interesting way than what they were doing whenever their personal representative that had had the personality transplant was showing up. So when you try to over polish, when you try to memorize what you're doing instead of internalizing the bullet points so you can go through it, and when you lean too hard on trying to put a perfect persona out there, that's when you're going to get in trouble. Another way to think about this is, instead of how do I summarize my whole career and how do I have my personal representative that sounds perfect talk about it, you want to take an approach where you're showing relevance. So the way that I look at it is getting a little bit of what you're known for, kind of what you do, what you're known for at a high level, crafted towards the target job that you're sitting there talking to somebody about, a little bit of your origin story of how you got interested in that, some street cred of how you're qualified and where you want to go in the future. So here's what this looks like, and I'm going to read this off. This is a example I wrote up for you guys. "Hi, I'm Mary. I help Fortune 500 biotech and pharma companies improve client retention and margins." I can't talk tonight. "My background is in product management and customer experience, and I love digging into customer analytics, identifying friction points, and fixing things that quietly drive churn. I became really interested in customer experience after seeing how dramatically it impacted retention and revenue when I was working in product management. And over the last several years, I've combined that background with analytics work to help reduce churn and improve margins in various SaaS companies. Now I want a role where I can help a company continue maturing that customer success strategy and move the needle even further and have more impact." So when we say that, I will grant that that first sentence might sound a little bit awkward. It might sound a little bit too done, but when I have my clients put this together, I have them put together a version that could be an introduction at a networking event. You can always tamp that down just a little bit to make it sound more natural. But when you listen to this, you understand what the person is going for. You understand their value, data analytics, friction points, fixing the things that drive churn, understand the through line, understand why she's there and how she got interested in it. So that's what we're doing with that particular version of a tell me about yourself. And ideally, you can put this story together and it only takes like 90 seconds to 2 minutes to tell. This one is a little bit probably on the shorter end because it's an illustration, but It does not take forever to do. It should not take forever to do. You can deliver something in 2 minutes and then ask them, what would you like more information about? That number one, turns your interview conversational. And number two, lets the interviewer say what they want to know more about. So we're not saying every job that we've ever had whenever we do this either. We're trying to just basically set the stage for, here's why I'm here. Here's why you should be listening to me. Here's why it was a great idea for you to pick my resume out of the pile and choose to call me in for this interview today. Your job is not to explain your whole career and justify it in this question or even in a long interview as a whole. If you talk to somebody for an hour, you shouldn't be talking about justifying your career. You should be talking about the things that you have done, the results that you have gotten that are relevant to the questions that you're being asked. Those are two different things. So I hope this helps y'all out. I talk about this a lot. It's one of the questions that people are the most concerned with. And I think whenever you can get comfortable with this, you're making a big, big dent in preparation for an interview, because the more comfortable you are talking about yourself for this question, the more comfortable you'll be talking about your results for other questions. If you like this kind of stuff, if you want to learn more about how to look great in a job search, how to find work that you love, and how to grow, hit subscribe, hit the bell, follow, all the things. And I'm going to see you here tomorrow. I'm in the middle of a 7-day challenge, and I don't know what I'll do after 7 days, but I know I'm going to be on here every day until it's done.